Yes! 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 Woo! Oh! Alright, guys. So, woo! Alright, little different video today. Oh. Whew. On the vlog, I know it's been a while. Usually I do running shoe reviews and some car stuff, but whew, ugh. Tampa Bay wins Game 7, first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Whew. In a 2-1 victory. And in typical Tampa Bay Lightning fashion, Andrei Vasilevsky comes up extremely strong in net. It's like a wall, which is excellent. But also, got to give it to the underdog players. This is typical Tampa Bay Lightning stuff, where the underdog player, the one you don't think about, ends up being the hero of the game. It always happens. That is Tampa Bay Lightning mantra. The underdog, the unsung hero, the guy that may not have a whole lot of experience is the guy that comes and saves the day. This was such a hard-fought series. Such a hard-fought series. And you know I don't post a lot of videos. I don't post any videos about sports and whatnot other than the running stuff that I do, but I have been a Tampa Bay Lightning fan since I was like 6 years old. Before I even moved down here, when I lived up in Indiana, I was a Tampa Bay Lightning fan just because I knew my family was going to be moving to the Tampa Bay area at that time when I was 6 years old. I remember going to my first hockey games at the Thunderdome, which is now Tropicana Field, that disaster of a baseball stadium that is. And watching players like Darren Pupa, Brian Bradley, Peter Klima, Roman Hammerlick, I mean, Dino Ciccarelli, Enrico Ciccone, you know, I mean, you name it. I remember all of them. Rob Zaminer, Chris Gratton, all these players growing up. In fact, on the wall that's behind the camera over there, I have a lot of Tampa Bay Lightning memorabilia on the wall. I've got one of those pennant alarm clocks. I've got a smaller pennant that's actually signed by Rob Zaminer. Over on the shelf that's over here, I've got a couple of hockey pucks, a couple of Tampa Bay Lightning hockey pucks. I mean, I've got multiple Tampa Bay Lightning jerseys from over the years. In fact, I have a trash can right here. I'll even get it. It's a little banged up, but I have a trash can. I mean, that's old school. I've had that thing forever. I have been a Lightning fan for a very long time. And what this series, what the past few years has meant to me as a fan for a very long time, has meant so much. Because I remember the first time the Lightning made the playoffs in 1996, and we lost in the first round, 6 games, against the Philadelphia Flyers. 1996 was also the first year that the Florida Panthers, who we meet in the next round, it was the first year the Florida Panthers made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and that was the only year that they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. So it was a little disheartening as a Lightning fan to know that our neighbors down south got to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals before us. And years after that, the pain and the anguish and the frustration as a Lightning fan, watching players leave, watching players get traded off, being a bottom feeder team. We eventually draft a guy by the name of Vincent Lecavalier, a guy that was most notably mentioned at the time, I believe, by the Lightning management to say that he was going to be the next Wayne Gretzky. He was going to be the next great player. He never really came to that, but he did a lot of other things. I digress from where I'm getting at. There's so many years of pain and anguish in watching this team be a bottom feeder team. And when we finally won the cup in 2004, it erased everything. It erased everything. I was a junior in high school, rocking my Tampa Bay Lightning jersey, and it erased all of those years of pain and anguish. But there was a saying back in the 90s, I think it was a local telecaster said this, because the Lightning were so bad that the day that the Lightning win the Stanley Cup is the day that hockey will end. And that actually came true, because in 2005 there was no hockey season, so hockey actually ended. The Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and hockey actually ended. The prophecy came true. The Lightning won. It was impossible that a Florida team could win the Stanley Cup. And we did it. And hockey ended for a year. There's the lockout, collective bargaining agreement, all that kind of stuff. Things came back around, and we became another bottom feeder team. We weren't very good. We still had some of our star players from the day that we won the Stanley Cup. Vinny Lecavalier, Marty St. Louis, for a while Brad Richards. But a lot of those players that we had were gone. And we were trying to piece the team back together, and new ownership came in. Thank goodness for Jeff Vinik, who came in and revitalized the program. We went through quite a few coaching changes, some more of a PR stunt. But we finally found our rhythm. We had an owner that was willing to invest not only in the organization, but in the areas around the organization, into the city, into the fan base, into marketing, into getting people to want to go to a game, and he did it. He started with the product that was put on the ice. Building a team around our future, Steven Stamkos. Using those leadership capabilities, bringing in guys like Steve Yzerman to be the general manager, Julien Brisebois, who is now the general manager but was the assistant general manager, getting John Cooper to be the head coach, having a stellar AHL team with the Syracuse Crunch, and even the ECHL program with the Orlando Solar Bears, having a great development program to bring the next man up mentality. And because of that, we went on a run. We had some really, really good years. It was heartbreaking when we made it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Chicago Blackhawks, and we lost that series. Now, the Blackhawks were a really good team. They're going to go down as one of those legendary teams where a lot of those players are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers, despite all of the things that have been brought up over the past couple of years with that organization. Guys like Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, they're going to end up being first ballot Hall of Famers. But ever since then, we couldn't get over that hump. We just couldn't get over that hump. We'd get to the Eastern Conference Finals and we would lose. Boston was a thorn in our side for many years. Pittsburgh. The Rangers, even though half the Rangers became Tampa Bay Lightning players. You know, we couldn't get over that hump. And the year of COVID, the year where the league shut down, and I remember this because I was going to take my daughter to her very first hockey game on March, I believe it was March 15th. We were supposed to play the New Jersey Devils. I had tickets to the game. We were ready to go as a Saturday night game. So really excited. Friday afternoon, the NHL suspended hockey. And they did the bubble thing. Probably one of the toughest things all players had to go through was the bubble. We made the playoffs. We learned from the year prior when we got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round after winning the President's Trophy, being the best team in the league. And we got swept in the first round by Columbus. And then we go into the COVID year. We have to play in the bubble. And we make the playoffs. We don't go in as a number 1 seed, but we're definitely a top 4 seed team. We go into the playoffs, and we learn from our mistakes. We go in with a new mentality, a more aggressive mentality. Not being the fastest team on the ice, not being the high-scoring team that we had been throughout the entire regular season, that we had become known for. But a more aggressive team, a more physical team. It was like when Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls played against the Detroit Pistons in I believe it was the Eastern Conference Finals back in the early 90s. And the Detroit Pistons were a very physical team, and the Bulls had the high-powered offense, but they weren't a physical team. So what did MJ and Pippen and all of them do? They bulked up over the next season. They focused on their skills, but they bulked up. They became a physical team. They brought in players to bring in that physicality, and that's what the Lightning did. They brought in players to bring that physical presence, but still be a very good, high-powered team. And we finally got over that hump. But it took 7 games against the New York Islanders, a very good team, to get there. But we finally got to the Stanley Cup Finals again, and we had to face the Dallas Stars. Again, a very good team, that Dallas Stars team, very good team. And we finally did it. Granted, it was in the bubble. It was away from our fans. We didn't get a chance to celebrate and see it in person. Get to see Stamkos, who wasn't there in the playoffs. But to see Stamkos lift that Stanley Cup above his head. The fans didn't get to see it. So the Lightning come back the next season. Now we have fans in the stands. Now we have things going for us. We are the defending Stanley Cup champions, and we bring back most of our players. Just have to fill in a few little gaps here and there. Really awkward season because you had the North, you had the West, you had the South, and you had the East. Really weird divisions, really weird schedule set up, and you couldn't play people outside of your division. You only played people in the division. So the playoffs start. We have to play the Florida Panthers in the first round. That's where the rivalry begins. Florida Panthers finally making the playoffs, finally getting a chance to show what they can do. And we beat them in the first round. In a very physical contest in what is now going to be the Battle of Florida. Go on to the second round. Again, we have to go into the third round and face the New York Islanders, which goes 7 games again, like it did the year before. Very physical team. Very talented team that Islanders team was. And we were able to beat them in the Eastern Conference Finals to advance us to, once again, the Stanley Cup Finals, where we can finally defend our reign as Stanley Cup champions and against the surprising Montreal Canadiens, who went on a tear after being down 3-1 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Maple Leafs just couldn't shut them out. The Canadiens go on a tear, make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, have to face us in the Stanley Cup Finals. And that was the first time in the Stanley Cup Finals that I actually felt confident. I actually felt like Tampa Bay was definitely the better team going into that Stanley Cup Finals. And I think we proved it. 5 games. We beat them in 5, and we did it. We raised the cup in front of our fans at Amalie Arena. I will always call it the Ice Palace, so if I actually say the Ice Palace, I'm sorry. But we got to see Stamkos raise that cup in front of our fans in that arena. Absolutely insane. Steven Stamkos has said in the past, Tampa Bay is a hockey city. We are a hockey town. We have become a hockey town. It's funny, if you ask me about this city, how much it's changed and how much we support the Lightning. But now we get into the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of this video. Game 7, first round against Toronto Maple Leafs. These two teams are so evenly well matched. They have star-studded power offenses all over the place. Fantastic defensemen, great goaltending, great coaching. The front offices are evenly matched. The teams are so well mixed together and so well matched. I mean, heck, even the jersey colors are exactly the same, blue and white. I mean, I honestly, at the beginning of the series, I knew it was going to be a physical series. And I knew before the series even started, before the playoffs even started, this was going to be a rough playoff run for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Why? Because all of the teams that pretty much made the playoffs had over 100 points. They had over 100 points on the regular season, guys. Think about that! In the past, 100 points would almost guarantee you winning your division. Now 100 points barely got you in the playoffs. That was the parity this year, guys. That was the parity. There were teams that were built for this season, and then there were teams that weren't. And there was such a divide between the two teams, between the two types of teams, that it was ridiculous. Some teams were able to build programs that they knew were going to be really good, and then other teams, they didn't. But I knew going into this series, it was going to be a tough one. Because if you look at the series throughout the year, Tampa Bay and Toronto. Toronto wins the first game. Tampa Bay wins the second game. Third game, Toronto absolutely wipes the floor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, wipes the floor. Then Tampa Bay comes back and wipes the floor of the Toronto Maple Leafs 8-1. Series is evenly well matched throughout the year. So we knew going into the playoffs this is going to be a tough one. The teams are very evenly matched. The teams are very close to each other. And I knew this was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be tough. So going into game 1, Toronto wins. Tampa Bay wins game 2. Toronto wins game 3. Tampa Bay wins game 4. Toronto wins game 5. Tampa Bay wins game 6 in overtime. I'm having to be hooked up to a cardiac monitor because I'm about ready to have an aneurysm here. Game 7. The positive for me was Tampa Bay Lightning are pretty good in Game 7s. And when we've faced elimination like this, we're pretty good. Vasi's usually pretty good. The team's really good. We have a way of just staying ahead. And in some of those series, we actually shut them out in Game 7. So I said, you know what? We got a good history on our side. Especially with this team, with this core of players, we have a really good history on our side. So I knew going into Game 7, this is going to be a tough one. And I could go play by play. But Nick Paul, guy that we traded for at the deadline, came from Ottawa. He scores the 2 goals that the Lightning get. and is the unsung hero of the game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We could talk about the no calls and stuff like that, but this is where I really wanted to get to. I wanted to get to the Toronto fans, and the whole point of this video, of all the stuff that I said prior to this, has to do with you guys, the Toronto fans. The Tampa Bay Lightning, this reign that's going on right now, is not going to last much longer. I'd be surprised if it lasted longer after this season. I think we're still going to have a fairly decent core. Stamkos, Hedman, and a few other players are going to stick around, but I think there's a lot of players that are going to get traded off by the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's not going to be the same. There's some players that are going to go into free agency. I think there are some players that are maybe getting up there in age, that are getting close to retirement, that are saying, you know what, I'll just take a little less money and still play for Tampa and just retire here. But I think the reign of Tampa is going to be over after this year. Now, whether they get eliminated in the next round or we make it to the Stanley Cup and we win it all again for the 3rd time in a row, I think either way, I think this reign is going to be over for Tampa Bay. Toronto fans, I understand your pain. All those years that the Lightning made the playoffs and we either couldn't get past a certain round of the playoffs or we'd make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and we'd lose. It was anguishing. Even the first few years up until 2003, 2004, being a bottom feeder team, barely making the playoffs in 96, as I think it was an 8th seed, but barely making the playoffs and being able to be a bottom feeder team for as long as they had been, finally making the playoffs, finally having a decent program, and finally winning the Stanley Cup in 2004. That was a hump. Had to get over that hump. Toronto, you have a lot to look forward to. Your team is absolutely fantastic. I don't really see that there's any players that you need to move, maybe make this area better, this line better, this, do that. I think you got a great coaching staff. I think you have a great front office staff. I think you have just great players on your team. Austin Matthews, Nylander, Riley. I mean, the list goes on and on. Tavares, Kerfoot, Campbell, Jack Campbell. Absolutely fantastic goaltender, 100%. That team is an amazing team. Do not give up on that team. Because last year, odd situation, odd division lining up, all that kind of stuff. This year, more of a normal season than we've ever had before. And you have to face the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. It's going to be a tough battle. It wasn't going to be an easy walkthrough. Both teams are just so equally matched. It was going to come down to one goal. And that's all it was. It was one goal. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs next year, I believe, if they don't make any changes and we stick with what you got, fans, stick with what you got, trust me on this. We were calling, after we couldn't get over that hump, we were calling for Cooper's Head. We were wanting to trade Stamkos off. Oh, he's injured too many times. Trade him off. Have him go somewhere else. We were thinking about, we got to bring up all the young players. We got to get rid of all these old players. They're just not working for us. Stamkos is just whatever. And Stamkos has the best year of his career this year. He proved time and time again since those days, especially when we got swept in the first round, how much of a leader he is. Whether he's on the ice or off the ice, the leadership capabilities of that guy is insane. Don't give up on your team. I am absolutely telling you, Toronto fans, don't give up on this team. They are fantastic. You have a fantastic team. You have a fantastic front office. You have a fantastic coaching staff. Don't give up on this team. Please don't give up on that team. Because I think next year, you're the team to beat. You're going to have such a chip. The players themselves are going to have such a chip on their shoulder losing to Tampa in the first round. Now, if Tampa goes on a tear, beats the Panthers, hopefully we do. Don't want to lose to the Sunrise Putty Tats down south. If we beat Florida and we go through the Eastern Conference Finals and we make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and we win the Stanley Cup, I'm going to say the toughest round that we had to face was Toronto. And if we had lost, Toronto would be in the Stanley Cup Finals. Don't give up on that team. Don't give up. As for Tampa Bay Lightning fans, we get to go on. We live another day. We get to bask in the glory for at least a day or two. And then we have to travel down south. At least traveling's a little bit closer. We don't have to travel as far, so that's a thing. But now we got to play our in-state rivals, Florida Panthers, in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if you're a hockey fan around the NHL, this is the series you need to watch. The Battle of Florida has been intense all year. Even when we played our exhibition game, our preseason game in Orlando at the Amway Center, it was brutal. The amount of fighting, the amount of hits, the physicality. These two teams hate each other. This is why you need to watch this series, where Toronto and Tampa, we did have quite a few penalties in that whole series, both teams. Where Tampa and Toronto, a lot of high scoring, a lot of high flying offenses. This next round, it's going to be physical. It's going to be absolutely physical. Vasilevsky's going to be on his game. He's got to be on his game. But our defense, our hitters, they got to be on their game too. Because Florida's coming. Florida wants to prove that they deserve to be a top-tier team in Florida. That this state deserves hockey. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. Long video. I know, I usually don't post up videos like this. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Hockey, especially playoff times, has a way of surprising everyone. The teams that have been there before know what it takes to win. It doesn't matter what you do during the regular season. Playoff hockey is a whole different breed. It takes a whole different level of passion, a whole different level of believing that you can do it. And the Tampa Bay Lightning right now believe that not only can they win 2 Stanley Cups in a row, but they can win 3 Stanley Cups in a row. And I believe in them too. I believe in the organization. I believe in the players. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in the fan base. All those years growing up as a kid and finally being able to see the success of the Tampa Bay Lightning, the way that they are damn near dynasty. First ballot Hall of Famers. For sure, Vasilevsky is probably the best goaltender of this era. And I get to see it with my team. The team that I've watched since I was 6 years old. Unbelievable. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, please click that subscribe button. Maybe I'll do this after each game. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think it's pretty fun. I enjoyed this. A little different. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah. And we'll see you at game 1. Panthers. Get ready to be thunderstruck.